So I've tested the Colbor CF5 portable smoke machine against the SmokeNINJA Pro, and one of these has a safety issue that might actually kill you. I'll tell you about that at the end of the video. Okay, I've time-stamped it so you can just skip there if you'd like, but really you should watch the entire video because as I compare these two, I'll be going over some tips and tricks that will make both of these much safer to operate. Oh, and at the end of this video, I'm also going to crown a winner between these two and tell you which one of them is the better value. Now, last year I did a review of the Colbor fog machine against the Ulanzi fog machine, and the Colbor pretty much kicked its butt. Do they have butts? Well, I guess that would be its butt. So if you're interested in seeing why, you can watch that little video right over there. Now, this year I went to NAMM, the National Association of Music Merchants Convention in Anaheim, and PMI was there showing off their SmokeNINJA Pro. So when I was talking to the head of marketing and I mentioned that Colbor had sent me one of their units for review, he immediately gave me a SmokeNINJA Pro on the spot, as well as a few accessories, and told me that their unit was much better. And I said, well, okay, let's find out. So in full disclosure, both of these companies have sent me these units for free. Neither one of has paid me, and I get to say whatever I want, which of course, I will always say whatever I want. Now, whenever I compare two products, I always like to start with the price. That way I can discuss the value of everything in terms of dollars. Now, although you can buy the SmokeNINJA Pro by itself, you're really going to want to buy the hazing kit because that's going to give you the little accessories on here as well as this really nice case. Now, the hazing kit retails for $229, but you can pick it up at the time of this video for about $195 on Amazon. Now, the Colbor kit is going to be significantly less expensive at $129. All right, we're going to start with the $66 advantage to Colbor. Let's start with some things that they have in common. Both of them come in really nice little zipper cases. They come with fog juice. They come with some accessories. They both have remote controls. Oh, and they both make fog. But this brings me to my first advantage to the SmokeNINJA. Well, as you can see, it makes more fog. So right out of the gate, the SmokeNINJA has a big advantage over the Colbor. It's going to smoke up your room a lot faster. And what's that worth? Well, that's got to be worth at least $30. So we'll take away $30 from the Colbor. Now let's talk about mounting options. The Colbor has a nice $1/4 right here on the bottom. The SmokeNINJA doesn't have a $1/4 on the bottom, it has its on the side. Actually, it's removable. Yeah, we just pull this compartment back here and then, well, we can just slide that right out. There we go. And that just slides out right there. And to put it back in, well, we just slide it right back in like that. That way, you can have the $1/4 mount on it or not, make it a little bit smaller. So while they both have a $1/4, well, you can take this one off, but then again, this is on the bottom where you kind of want it. So I'm going to call that a tie. Oh, but while we're here, the SmokeNINJA also has this magnet. It's the same thing. It can come on or off. Yep, I really do like that. Over here, no magnet option at all. Yeah, so we probably should give something to SmokeNINJA for that. Magnet, am I going to use that? Yeah, maybe. Let's give it $8. And I do like the fact that these are removable, making things a lot smaller. Oh, and while we're on that subject, the SmokeNINJA is a lot smaller and lighter than the Colbor. The Colbor is coming in at about 14.4 ounces, whereas the SmokeNINJA, well, it's only 9.6. So yeah, if you're going to have these around, well, I'd rather have this one around. What am I going to give that? Not much. They're both pretty light. Let's give it $5. Oh, but the Colbor does have this little trick. Yeah, you can turn it like that. Not sure why you'd want to turn it like that, but if you did want to turn it like that, well, you can't turn this like that, so that's got to be worth, let's give it $1. Yeah. But now let's talk about battery life. You know, the battery life test was difficult because when I turned them on both at 100%, well, they both overheated and shut off after a while. And as I run the test over and over again, I really couldn't tell much of a difference. You can't just put the battery on and run it out. And shutting off when they overheat, well, that's probably a good thing because we're going to get to safety in a little bit. Now, the battery on the Colbor is built into this unit, so when the battery dies, well, so does the entire unit. Over here on the SmokeNINJA Pro, well, the battery is replaceable. In fact, you can get backup batteries and carry those around with you if you want. In fact, they sell a little 2-pack that goes into a little case, and the case actually works as a battery charger or a phone charger. Yeah. That's pretty cool. They didn't give me that, but I did see one at NAMM, and it looked pretty cool. I tried to buy one online, but couldn't find it. I think it's a pretty new product. But by the time you're listening to this, well, maybe it's out. If so, I'll have some links down in the descriptions. So what's it worth to me to have a replaceable battery? Well, I'd kind of say a lot. I mean, when this is dead, it's going to be dead, and this, I could get it fixed. I'd probably pay an extra $15 if I could replace the battery on this Colbor. Yep, that's a pretty big feature to me. Now let's talk about ease of use. There is an actual screen on the Colbor. Now, getting around it is a little bit difficult or complicated. You have to press which one you want, and then it lights up, and then you decide how big or small that gets with the plus or minus button right here. So if we get the fog all the way up, here we press over here, and then we turn it up and down right here. Although not the most intuitive, you can figure it out. I do like having a screen. Over here in the SmokeNINJA, you don't get a screen, you get this interface, which is actually pretty straightforward, and maybe I actually prefer it to a screen. To turn it on, you have to press it 3 times, and then you get this, and then you hit either steam, or dry ice, or fog. And it tells you here by the color, because that's really what you want at a fog machine. You're either going to want to create steam to make something look like a kettle boiling or something like that. You're going to want the dry ice effect, which is really cool. Or you're going to want fog to fog up a room. And there's levels of steam. Here, you press it again, you get a brighter light or even a brighter light. And that tells you, I guess, all the way on, not all the way on. That's what it gets when you get a small amount of steam. You want a little bit more, well, you get a little bit more. And you want a little more than that, well, you get a little bit more than that. So it doesn't have a screen, but it does have this nice display. It's pretty easy to get around, pretty intuitive, and I like it. But I do like a nice screen, so you know what? I'm not going to exchange money on this at all. Yeah, let's call it a tie. But now let's talk about the fan. Each one of these kits comes with a fan. Here, let me show you. This one, you pop off the top, and you put the fan unit on. Yeah, and this is great because the fan unit has little contacts here, so when you put it on, well, it just goes like that, and you only have to charge one thing. Yeah, I really do like that because it's pulling the power down from the main battery. Well, then I've got control over the fan here. The SmokeNINJA's fan is a completely separate unit, and it just goes into the top right like this. And it doesn't draw power from the main battery. You've got to charge this separately. Yeah, that's kind of a shame. Turn it on here, and then from here, you basically check how much of the fan you want blowing. And the fan is independent of the unit itself. I'll get that going here. Let's go all the way. And now when I turn on the fog, it blows it out like that. It's got a really, really big fan. And the fan is really, really pumping out the steam. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So even though you turn the unit off, well, you still got to turn the fan off. Yeah, that's kind of a downside. So the fan now is blowing at 100%. You can see that, well, it's not really like blowing across the room. It's just, well, I don't know. Not doing much at all. Making noise if I turn the fan down. It blows more, but it doesn't fan much more. It does have a light on the fan though, and you can get different intensities of light, and that's kind of cool, sort of. Okay, so the fan on the SmokeNINJA, well, it's a better fan. It does have the disadvantage of having to turn it on separately, but you got a big old fan on there that can actually spread things around pretty wide. This is kind of got a little fan on it that, well, doesn't do much at all. So how much would I pay to get a better fan on the Colbor? Well, I'd probably pay an extra, I'd probably pay an extra $25 just to be able to get the smoke where I wanted it and have an adjustable fan right where I needed it. Yeah, so taking back $25 from Colbor. 1, 2, 3. I ran out of money. So now the advantage is for the SmokeNINJA. So at this point in our comparison, these seem to be pretty comparable. I mean, this is less money, but there's some features over here, and you can see that I apparently enjoy the SmokeNINJA just a little bit more than I do the Colbor when it comes to value. So, but that's going to be a little subjective. Maybe you didn't like how much money I gave for one thing or another. You might find something different. But there are a couple things about the SmokeNINJA that really push it over the top as the winner in this case. And that is, the SmokeNINJA can do a couple of things that the Colbor cannot. This is a smoke bubble adapter. Just check this out. Put a little bubble formula into this little thing, pour a little bit into there. There's a bubble filled with smoke. Very satisfying. Now, if I don't turn on the fan, well, it'll just make a bigger and bigger fog bubble. Yeah, really, really nice. And this is a very strong bubble. Of course, it will break. Let's just see how far we can go here. Can we get that to come off? Oh, man. So with the fan on at its lowest setting, well, it'll start blowing these little bubbles out and making a mess of my entire studio. Yeah, but still, come on. They're pretty fun. If you put your fan on the second speed, well, it'll make bubbles, but the bubbles will be a lot smaller. And these are really, really strong bubbles. You can see that a lot of them don't even pop right away when they hit the table. All right, the Colbor doesn't have the ability to put this little attachment on, but let's try putting this on there anyway, and let's see if we can get some bubbles. All right, the attachment is a little loose in there, but let's just see what happens if I can get this to go and blow anything. Yeah, I can blow a smoke bubble, but there's no fan to blow it off. And also, it kind of leaks around the edges here. I could probably fix that with some gaff tape or something, but you know what? It would be a jerry-rigged job, and it really wouldn't be as nice as it is going to be on the SmokeNINJA. All right, so for the dopamine hit that you get for this little smoke bubble kit, well, this is a great value at $14. I think you're going to get at least $15 of enjoyment out of this. You can also buy an expansion kit for the Smoke Genie, which gives you some extra tubing that allows you to put the Smoke Genie a little further away and then pipe in that smoke through, well, different tubes. Now, admittedly, you could go to the hardware store and you could buy tubing and you could get this for a lot cheaper. But you know, these work really, really well because they're made exclusively for the SmokeNINJA. Last year when I was reviewing the Colbor, I went to Home Depot and I bought some tubing, and yeah, it was a lot less money, but it was also a lot more of a pain to set up. But you can make some really, really cool effects with it. And it really comes down to this one right here. This one goes into the SmokeNINJA, fits tightly, and then everything else tubes off from here, and then they lock in really, really nicely. So smoke comes out here, but none here. Yeah, nice. The kit comes with 3 different size hoses, as well as these tees that are of different size as well, so you can rig up pretty much anything that you want. But the accessory I'm probably most excited about is the SmokeNINJA smoke vest. It does come with some extension tubes and some little tees here, but really it comes with this vest. And the unit itself goes in the small of your back. You use the remote, and pretty much, well, yeah, it lights you on fire. What's going on? Oh, you man, look at you. What are you doing? Dude,
we're smoking. We're smoking.
This is great. I'm not really sure when I'm going to use this, but I know what I'm going at for Halloween, and that's, well, man on fire. Yeah, so the smoke vest is pretty simple. It just basically has these little tubes here. The tubes have things that come out of them here. Here, I'm going to show you that. Just like that. And so you're getting kind of a nice little smoke from, well, a bunch of different places. There's a little pouch here at the bottom for your SmokeNINJA. It just fits in there just like that. And the pouch is too small for the Colbor. Now, you are going to have to pay more money for these accessories, but you know, those accessories aren't available for the Colbor. This makes this unit a lot more versatile. And you know, these accessories, they're not that much more money. Okay, now I want to talk about the safety issues that I teased in the beginning of this video. When I talked to PMI, the reason that they said that they wanted to go against the Colbor is because there's been a lot of reports against the Colbor for causing harm and actually fires and actually burning down places. Yeah. Both of these are smoke machines, and where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So there is a fire hazard with both of these. Now, I haven't been able to start a fire with either of these units, but I have noticed that the Colbor has a little rattle in it sometimes, and that rattle will happen when it actually spits out oil that isn't vaporized. And that stuff that comes out is pretty hot, and you can see it here. Now, there's some things you can do to minimize that. Well, the main thing you have to do is get all the fog juice out of your vaporizer. On the SmokeNINJA, you just pull this off right here, and you kind of see this right here. This is where all the magic happens. Now, the Colbor is kind of hidden in here. You can't actually get to it, but you can unscrew this. You can unscrew it on this other one as well. And what they tell you to do to get rid of that death rattle is basically get it out, turn it upside down, get rid of all of the fog juice in it, and let it sit overnight and refill it. Because I guess some of the stuff gets in there or where it's not supposed to be and causes that little rattle. Now, the same thing can happen, of course, to your SmokeNINJA, so that's why they say both on either one of these, when you're not using it, take it out and put it inside the air seal container. Yeah, each one of these comes with one. That's going to be your best bet to reduce that rattle. But I cleaned both of these, and I'm still getting a little rattle out of the Colbor. The other thing you're not going to do is just operate them straight out of the tube like this, because you can see, well, it's spit up here a little bit and you got oil coming out. What you do want to do is make sure that you always use this with some of the extensions that come in the kit. So here's the dry ice attachment, or you can just use the tube itself. If you're using just the tube itself, that's great. This minimizes the ability for it to spit out any oil that's going to get onto your stuff or to catch fire. The main attachment for the Colbor is this little unit right here that goes in just like that, and then it's flexible. Not a real fan of this type of tubing, but you know what? It works just fine. So you're going to want to try to operate these with a tube extension in there sometime to minimize the chance that something spits out and causes some irritation on your skin, or burns your house down and kills you. So I hope that was helpful. Hey, thanks for stopping by.